Let's look at the risk and compliance management capabilities provided by Microsoft Purview. In today's business world, data is often considered the most valuable asset. To protect business data, you need to focus on three key areas: risk and compliance. How do you reduce data risk and comply with applicable regulatory standards? Data security. How do you identify sensitive data, detect suspicious activities, and prevent data loss? Data governance. How do you discover data across your organization, build a data catalog, and apply data governance policies? This is where Microsoft Purview comes into play. It's a unified platform that offers a comprehensive set of solutions for risk and compliance management, data security, and data governance. In addition, Microsoft Purview is integrated with Microsoft Security Copilot and an AI-powered security analysis solution. With Security Copilot, you can use prompts to perform common tasks such as summarizing e-discovery documents or summarizing messages in communication compliance. Now let's take a quick tour of Microsoft Purview. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's explore its solutions. You can see a list of solutions categorized by core capabilities, risk and compliance, data governance, and data security. To manage critical risks and regulatory requirements, it offers several solutions, including communication compliance for reducing communication risks by capturing improper messages, Compliance Manager for viewing your compliance posture, managing assessments, and taking recommended actions, e-discovery for processing data in response to legal cases, information barriers for restricting communication to avoid conflicts of interest, and records management for managing the retention schedule of regulatory, legal, and business-critical records. You can click on a solution to access its functions. Audit is a core capability in Microsoft Purview. It helps organizations gain visibility into activities across their environments, and it supports data compliance, governance, and security. The general purpose of an audit is to know who does what, where, and when. In Microsoft Purview, who usually refers to users and admins. What refers to activities performed, such as deleted a file, updated a policy, or reset a password. Where refers to locations or services, such as Microsoft Teams, Exchange, or SharePoint. When refers to the exact time of an activity happened. All of this information is captured in a centralized audit log. Microsoft Purview Audit then provides a powerful search tool to help organizations discover the required information. Now let's do a quick demo. Here's a Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the Audit solution. It provides an advanced search tool. You can specify the date and the time range. For example, from October 1st to today. You can choose which activities to search for. You can select the target users. Select the workloads. Enter a search name. Finally, click the Search button. It will submit your search job. After the job status becomes completed, you can click the job to view the search results. Select an activity to see its details. You can also export the search results to a file for download. As part of its data compliance capabilities, Microsoft Purview enables organizations to perform e-discovery. You may ask, what is e-discovery? E-discovery is a legal term that stands for electronic discovery. It's a process of identifying, collecting, and exporting electronically stored information, or ESI, required by legal investigations. The core of Microsoft Purview e-discovery is the case. A case is created in response to legal requests. Within the case, you have searches for identifying content, policies for holding content, and datasets for reviewing content. Here's the general workflow of e-discovery. First, an event triggers the e-discovery process. For example, an organization received a legal request. Based on the requirements, admins create one or more cases in Microsoft Purview. Within the case, admins create searches for specific content. From the search results, admins can copy certain items and create review sets. The original content remains unchanged. Reviewers can use review sets for their work. From the review sets, you can take various actions, such as running analytics and tagging items. In addition, you can export search results. You can also create holds to preserve relevant content. Now let's do a quick demo. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the e-discovery solution. On the overview page, you can get started by creating a case, searching content, creating a hold, and viewing search statistics. Click Cases. You can manage cases or create a case. Choose a case. You can create and manage searches. Create and manage hold policies. And create and manage review sets. You can open the review set. Select a file to view its content. You can tag the file. If your organization has Microsoft Security Copilot enabled in Microsoft Purview, you can ask this AI assistant to summarize the file and help with your reviews. Let's look at the Compliance Manager solution provided by Microsoft Purview. Why is compliance management important? Because organizations today face increasing regulatory requirements, which may include global standards such as ISO IEC 27001 standard on information security management systems, regional regulations such as the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, laws and regulations established by various governments and states, and industry standards such as PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. How can you effectively manage and assess compliance across your enterprise environment? This is where Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager comes into play. It collects hundreds of global, regional, government, and industry regulations for you to review. If a regulation is relevant to your organization, you can create an assessment based on it. The assessment includes variance controls, which represent the requirements of the specific regulation. After comparing your current environment with the controls, the assessment provides a list of improvement actions, along with guidance on how to implement them. The assessment also tracks your progress in meeting the regulation requirements. In addition, Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager measures your overall compliance score, which reflects your data protection compliance posture. Now let's do a quick demo of Compliance Manager. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the Compliance Manager solution. On the Overview page, you can find your compliance score and key improvement actions. Click Regulations. Collects hundreds of regulations. You can search for a specific regulation, for example, ISO IEC 27001. Then view its details. If this regulation is applicable to your organization, you can create assessment based on it. Click Assessments. Here you can manage assessments. Let's click an assessment. You can see the assessment progress. Click Controls. You can view the status of all controls within this assessment. Click Your Improvement Actions. You can select an action and view its details. Microsoft Purview Communication Compliance helps detect, review, and respond to inappropriate messages within your organization. Why is communication compliance important? Because every day, numerous messages are exchanged through emails and collaboration apps within an organization. If confidential information or harmful content is included in some of these messages, it may violate corporate policies such as attaching inappropriate images in a Teams chat, increase security risks such as including account passwords or credit card numbers in emails, and compromise regulatory compliance, such as facilitating insider trading by disclosing the company's financial information before it's made public. Microsoft Purview provides the communication compliance solution to address these concerns. It enables organizations to configure policies to detect various types of inappropriate messages, investigate identified content quickly, and remediate issues using various actions. In addition, the solution monitors all activities throughout the process to meet the security, governance, and compliance requirements. Now let's do a quick demo of communication compliance. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the communication compliance solution. Click Policies. Here you can manage policies or create a new one. Let's select a policy and click the View Policy Settings icon. We can see this policy covers all active users, the assigned reviewers. The message locations include Exchange, Teams, and Viva Engage. The search conditions are content contains the trainable classifiers, stock manipulation, or unauthorized disclosure. These are indicators of insider trading communication. Click the policy to see the findings. Select a detected message to view its content. If your organization has Copilot in Microsoft Purview enabled, you can ask the AI assistant to summarize the content. After the review, you can take various actions, such as resolve the item, notify the message sender, tag the item, escalate for investigation, or automate response tasks. Let's look at the data lifecycle management solution provided by Microsoft Purview. You may wonder, what is data lifecycle management? The data lifecycle is the process that data follows, from its creation and storage to its use, archiving, and eventually deletion. Data lifecycle management focuses on two key actions. Retain the content that you need. For example, keeping some documents for 10 years due to the relevant compliance requirements. Delete the content that you don't need. For example, deleting archived files after 7 years. This helps reduce the amount of data the company manages and from a security perspective, minimizes the potential attack surface. In Microsoft Purview, there are two main methods to manage the data lifecycle: retention policies and retention labels. The main difference between them is the scope of coverage. A retention policy applies at the site or mailbox level, while a retention label applies to a specific folder, file, or email message. You can combine these methods in your data lifecycle management. For example, you can create a retention policy for a SharePoint site to retain all content for 7 years, while assigning a retention label to specific files on the SharePoint site to keep them for 10 years. You may ask, what happens if I edit or delete a file within the retention period? In most cases, you can edit or delete content as usual. However, the data lifecycle management will automatically retain a copy of the item in a secure location. Now let's do a quick demo of data lifecycle management. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the data lifecycle management solution. Under Policies, select Retention Policies. Here you can manage existing policies or create a new one. Let's select a policy. You can see this policy applies to content in SharePoint sites. The retention period is 7 years. Now let's look at retention labels. Select a label. You can see the retention duration is 10 years. Microsoft Purview provides a records management solution that enhances data lifecycle management with advanced content controls. You may ask, what is a record? You can think of a record as a special data label. When content such as a file, image, or email is labeled as a record, activities on this content are restricted. For example, a logged record doesn't allow editing or deletion. Activities on the content are logged. And a proof of disposition is generated when the content is deleted at the end of its retention period. Records management enables organizations to tighten control over business-critical records and meet various regulatory compliance requirements. How can you mark items as a record in Microsoft Purview? First, you need to create a retention label. In its settings of what users can do during the retention period, select Mark Items as a Record. Within your organization's environment, you can assign this special retention label to selected items. These items will then be marked as records. Now let's do a demo of records management in Microsoft Purview. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the records management solution. Click File Plan. Here you can manage existing labels or create a new one. Let's create a label for records management. Give it a name. Click Next, Next. Select Retain Items for a specific period. Click Next. Define the retention period. Click Next. Under Choose what happens during the retention period, we will select Mark Items as a Record. Click Next. We can choose what happens after the retention period. For example, delete items automatically, or start a disposition review. Click Next. After reviewing, we can create the label. Data plays a critical role in the success of businesses today. Let's look at the data security and the data governance capabilities provided by Microsoft Purview. Data security focuses on protecting sensitive information and reducing security risks. Microsoft Purview provides a set of data security solutions such as information protection to discover, classify, and secure sensitive information across your organization. Data loss prevention to detect suspicious behavior and prevent unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. And insider risk management to identify, investigate, and minimize internal risks. Data governance helps organizations effectively manage, control, and use their enterprise data to enhance data visibility, secure access, and generate business value. Microsoft Purview enables organizations to federate their data governance, distributing data ownership to business units and empowering them to discover the data that they need for the business. Have the right data access. Ensure data is usable and secure through data curation, which refers to organizing, annotating, and publishing data. Ensure data health to have high-quality data, and enhance data understanding by adding helpful descriptors. Microsoft Purview also helps organizations assign clear data roles and responsibilities, such as data owner, who is responsible for specific data assets, data steward, who ensures data quality, consistency, and compliance, data custodian, who manages the technical environment and the data infrastructure, data consumer, who accesses and uses data, and central data office, who sets governance policies and standards. Now let's take a quick tour of Microsoft Purview data security and governance solutions. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's explore its solutions. For data governance, it offers solutions like Data Catalog for discovering data across your organization and organizing data products into governance domains. For data security, it offers solutions like data loss prevention for preventing unauthorized disclosure of sensitive content, information protection for discovering, classifying, and protecting sensitive and business-critical information, and insider risk management for detecting risky user activity and responding to insider threats. Protecting sensitive and business-critical information is essential for maintaining data security. Let's look at the information protection solution provided by Microsoft Purview. To protect your data, you must first understand it in order to identify important information. This process is commonly known as data classification. Microsoft Purview offers several types of classifiers to identify data. Trainable classifiers. These use artificial intelligence to classify your data. Microsoft provides many pre-trained classifiers, such as bank statement, credit report, and invoice. You can also create custom trainable classifiers for your specific business data. Trainable classifiers are used to classify items like files or email messages. To further identify the elements within those items, you can use sensitive information types. These are pattern-based classifiers. For example, they can detect credit card numbers, social security numbers, or bank account numbers based on specific patterns. You can also use exact values from your organization's data to detect matches, instead of relying on generic patterns. These are known as Exact Data Match or EDM classifiers. Microsoft Purview also enables you to match or EDM classifiers. Microsoft Purview also enables you to label sensitive data. First, you need to create variance sensitivity labels based on the sensitivity levels defined by your organization, such as personal, public, confidential, and highly confidential. Once created, these sensitivity labels are published through label policies, which define rules such as which users and groups that can see labels, the default label to be applied, whether justifications are required for label changes, and whether a sensitivity label must be applied before saving documents. To bring visibility to sensitive content across your organization, the default label to be applied, whether justifications are required for label changes, and whether a sensitivity label must be applied before saving documents. To bring visibility to sensitive content across your organization's environment, Microsoft Purview provides data and content exposure to discover documents and emails that contain sensitive information or have sensitivity labels applied, and activity exposure to review activities related to sensitive content. Now let's do a quick demo of Microsoft Purview information protection. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the information protection solution. Under classifiers, you can see trainable classifiers. These are built-in or custom classifiers to identify common items such as a bank statement, a budget, or business plan. Sensitive info types. These match content elements based on patterns, such as full name, physical address, and passport number. EDM classifiers. These use exact values to detect matches rather than patterns. Click sensitivity labels. You can create sensitivity labels for different levels. Under Policies, you can create sensitivity label policies with variance settings. Under Exposures, you can use a data exposure or classic content exposure to discover emails and documents that contain sensitive information. You can use Activity Explorer to review activities related to sensitive information. Let's look at the Data Loss Prevention or DLP solution provided by Microsoft Purview. DLP helps organizations protect sensitive information as it's used or shared across their environments. The general workflow of data loss prevention includes 3 stages. Identify sensitive information, such as financial data and personal identifiable information, or PII. Monitor the usage of sensitive content and detect suspicious behaviors. And protect sensitive data by taking various actions, such as notifying users or blocking email messages. To implement data loss prevention, you need to create and apply DLP policies. You can think of a DLP policy as a rule. It specifies what data types need to be monitored, for example, financial data or health data. It selects admin units, including users and groups, to apply the policy. It chooses the data locations, such as Exchange email, SharePoint sites, or OneDrive accounts. Then it uses data, users, and locations information as input to build conditions. If a condition is matched, for example, if an employee sends unauthorized financial data to external recipients, it will trigger a corresponding action, such as sending an alert to admins. Microsoft Purview provides many DLP policy templates, so you don't need to start from scratch. These policy templates are organized by countries or regions, covering areas like financial, health, and privacy. For example, U.S. Health Insurance Act or Canada Personal Information Protection Act. Now let's do a quick demo of Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the data loss prevention solution. Click Policies. Here you can manage existing DLP policies or create a new one. Let's create a DLP policy. You can start with a policy template by searching for a pre-built template. For example, Canada financial data. This template protects information like a credit card number and a Canada bank account number. Click Next. Name your policy, then click Next. You can assign admin units. For example, Canada office. Click Next. Choose the locations to apply the policy, such as Exchange email or OneDrive accounts. Now you can choose protection actions, such as sending an email notification, sending incident reports, sending alerts, and restricting access or encrypting the content. After reviewing, you can submit the policy. Let's look at the insider risk management solution provided by Microsoft Purview. First of all, what is insider risk? Insider risks typically refer to risks posed by people within an organization. For example, leaks of business-critical data, unauthorized disclosure of confidential information, theft of intellectual property, trading stocks based on non-public financial information, fraudulent activities like manipulating financial records, and violations of compliance requirements. Microsoft Purview Insider Risk Management helps organizations minimize internal risks using an integrated and configurable workflow. It begins with creating an insider risk management policy, which defines the risk signals and the policy conditions. You can also choose a policy template to get started. Alerts are triggered when risk indicators match policy conditions. Next, reviewers assess and triage the alerts, deciding whether to create a new case, add to an existing case, or close the alert. Active cases are investigated using tools like User Activity and Content Explorer. Finally, actions are taken to address the insider risks, such as sending notifications, blocking access, or escalating the case for further review. As you can see, the stages of triage, investigation, and action form the core process of insider risk case management. Now let's do a quick demo of Microsoft Purview Insider Risk Management. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Let's choose the Insider Risk Management solution. Click Policies. Here you can manage existing insider risk management policies or create a new one. Click Create Policy. You can choose a pre-built policy template to get started. For example, data leaks by risky user. You can choose an existing policy to view its policy settings. Click Users. You can see potential risky users. Select a user. You can review user profile and user activity. If your organization has Copilot in Microsoft Purview enabled, the AI assistant can summarize the user risk. Data governance is not only about controlling data, but also about generating business value. To do that, organizations need a solution to discover, organize, and curate data across their environments. This is where Microsoft Purview Unified Catalog comes into play. Unified Catalog provides three key capabilities. Catalog management for organizing data based on business concepts and needs, while adding business context to your data assets. Health management for monitoring, evaluating, and improving data quality, security, and compliance. And data discovery for browsing, searching, and discovering available data across your organization. This is how you organize data assets in Unified Catalog. First, you create governance domains. Think of a governance domain as a container for selected data products, along with their data ownership, governance policies, and business purposes. For example, you can create governance domains based on business functions, such as marketing, sales, and finance. You may also consider creating governance domains based on data domains or regulatory requirements. Within a governance domain, you can create data products, which categorize requirements. Within a governance domain, domains based on business functions, such as marketing, sales, and finance. You may also consider creating governance domains based on data domains or regulatory requirements. Within a governance domain, you can create data products, which categorize data assets into various data sets based on your business needs. For each data product, you can specify a name, description, owners, and business usage. You can also create glossary terms, which provide business context to your data. For example, acronyms used in a specific business function, policies applied to manage and use data. You can link data products with OKRs, which stands for Objectives and Key Values. OKRs are commonly used by businesses to set goals and measure progress towards achieving them. You can define critical data elements, which are logical grouping of important information, such as employee ID or product code. You can also create data access policies to manage access requests for your data products. Now let's do a quick demo of Microsoft Purview Unified Catalog. Here's the Microsoft Purview portal. Choose the Unified Catalog solution. Under Catalog Management, click Governance Domains. Here you can manage existing governance domains or create a new one. For example, we have 3 governance domains for the business functions of marketing, sales, and finance. Click the governance domain of marketing. It contains data products, glossary terms, OKRs, and critical data elements. Go to Data Products. You can provide a description, use cases, and associated data assets. Privacy has become a major concern in today's business world. It goes beyond meeting regulatory requirements. It's essential for building organizational trust. Now let's look at the privacy protection capabilities provided by Microsoft Priva. The core of privacy protection is processing personal data lawfully, fairly, and transparently. It covers consent and collection. Before collecting personal data, you must obtain clear consent from individuals so they understand what data you are collecting and for what purposes. Also, only collect data that is necessary to minimize risks. Storage and transfer. You must store personal data securely using technologies like encryption. When transferring data, you must prevent data leaks and comply with applicable legal and regulatory requirements, such as cross-border data transfer rules. Data access. You must limit access to sensitive personal information and prevent unauthorized disclosure. Data sharing. You must obtain agreements from individuals before sharing their personal data with third parties. Also, only share data when it's necessary and for a legitimate purpose. And data retention. You must properly manage the life cycle of personal data, retain them only when necessary or required by regulatory requirements, and securely delete them after the retention period. The key to protect privacy is privacy by design and by default. In other words, we need to have privacy in mind from the beginning of our business and system design. Also, strong privacy protection should be a default setting at every stage of the data lifecycle. Microsoft Priva provides a set of solutions for managing privacy, including privacy risk management. It helps organizations set up policies to identify privacy risks and recommend remediation actions. Subject rights requests. Privacy regulations like GDPR require giving individuals or data subjects control over their personal data. Subject rights requests helps organizations fulfill their requests more efficiently with automated workflows and insights. Consent management. It helps streamline the process of obtaining, managing, and tracking user consent for personal data. Privacy assessment. It automates the discovery, assessment, and documentation of personal data usage across the entire organization. And tracker scanning. It helps identify, manage, and report various tracking technologies across multiple websites. In addition, Microsoft Priva provides a unified portal to access all its solutions. Now let's take a quick tour of Microsoft Priva. Here's a Microsoft Priva portal. Here we can see a list of privacy protection solutions, including consent management, privacy assessments, privacy risk management, subject rights requests, and tracker scanning. You can click on a solution to access its functions. For example, privacy risk management. You can set up various risk policies. Subject rights requests. You can create a Microsoft 365 request. And tracker scanning. You can register websites for scanning trackers. Let's look at the privacy risk management solution provided by Microsoft Priva. Privacy risk management helps organizations identify, assess, and remediate privacy risks. Policies are at the core of privacy risk management. You can use policy templates to define how to handle various types of privacy risks. You can review and respond to alerts generated by these policies. And you can access the reports page to get a consolidated view of key insights, policy trends, and data classifications. Microsoft Priva provides several policy templates, including data overexposure policy to detect and address situations where data stored lacks security controls, data transfer policy to track personal data transfers outside of your organization or internally between different departments, countries, or regions, and data minimization policy to discover data that hasn't been updated for a set of time frame, so you can decide whether to delete or keep the content. Here's a typical structure of a privacy risk management policy. It specifies the data sources, like SharePoint sites, OneDrive accounts, or Azure storage. It selects the types of personal data that need to be monitored. For example, the datasets defined by privacy regulations like GDPR. It chooses users and groups covered by this policy. Then it uses the information as input to build conditions. If a condition is matched, it triggers a corresponding outcome, such as sending a notification email. Finally, it can generate alerts for admins. Now let's do a quick demo of Microsoft Priva Privacy Risk Management. Here's a Microsoft Priva portal. Select the Privacy Risk Management solution. Click Policies. Here we can manage existing policies or create a new one. Click a policy, for example, Demo Data Overexposure Policy. On the overview page, you can see current policy status. Click Edit. We can manage the policy settings, including data sources, data to monitor, users and groups, conditions, outcomes, and alerts. Click Alerts. Here we can find all the detected alerts. Click Reports. Here you can view key insights, policy trends, and classification. Let's look at the subject rights request solution provided by Microsoft Priva. You may ask, what are subject rights? A data subject is anyone whose personal data is collected, stored, or processed by an organization. From a privacy standpoint, data subjects have a set of rights to access and control their personal data. For example, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, defines several data subject rights, such as the right to be informed, the right of access, the right to rectification, or the right to request corrections, the right to erasure, or the right to be forgotten, and more. However, because personal data may be stored across various systems and locations, it's often challenging for organizations to find, manage, and process the data to fulfill data subject requests efficiently. Microsoft Priva addresses this challenge by offering the Subject Rights Request solution. It handles requests for data within Microsoft 365 and beyond Microsoft 365. You can get started by using its built-in request templates for data access, data export, data deletion, and data tagged for future actions. Now let's move on to a quick demo of Microsoft Priva subject rights requests. Here's the Microsoft Priva portal. Select the solution Subject Rights Requests. As you can see, it handles requests for data within Microsoft 365 and beyond. Let's select Microsoft 365 requests. Click Create a Request. You can get started with a data request template, such as data access, data export, data deletion, and data tagged for further action. Or you can use the guided process to create a custom request. Microsoft Security Copilot is an AI-powered security analysis solution. You might be wondering, what can AI do with security? To understand this, let's look at some of the top challenges in the security industry. Many organizations agree that we are facing too many security threats due to evolving hacking tactics and techniques. Too few professionals with experience in security operations, and a lack of visibility into security, governance, risk, and compliance. Moreover, we are working at human speed to deal with all these security challenges. But is it possible for us to work at machine speed and scale? A potential answer is the use of artificial intelligence, or AI. Specifically, the rise of generative AI is transforming how we work and learn today. This is why Microsoft introduced Copilot, an AI-powered virtual companion to improve work productivity. Built on Copilot architecture, Microsoft Security Copilot helps organizations protect, detect, and respond to security threats faster and more effectively. This is a diagram from Microsoft that illustrates the architecture of Microsoft Security Copilot and how it integrates with various services and tools to deliver an AI-powered security protection. First, at the AI model layer, Microsoft Security Copilot combines OpenAI's generative AI models with Microsoft security data sources. Security Copilot operates on Microsoft's hyperscale AI and cloud infrastructure. It orchestrates security processes and tools seamlessly. It leverages Microsoft's global threat intelligence and trillions of daily signals. And it integrates with various Microsoft security tools, third-party solutions, and custom services. What can you do with Microsoft Security Copilot? Here are some common use cases. Summarize security incidents. Analyze the impact of potential incidents. Provide guided responses to incidents. Analyze suspicious codes. Analyze vulnerability impact. And generate scripts for threat hunting. There are two ways to use Microsoft Security Copilot. You can access its portal and enter your prompts. This is called a standalone experience. Or you can use Copilot within Microsoft security solutions, such as Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft Entra, and Microsoft Purview. This is called an embedded experience. Now let's take a quick tour of Microsoft Security Copilot. Here's the Microsoft Security Copilot portal. It provides many prompts to try. You can filter prompts by job roles, such as SOC analyst or identity administrator. You can also filter prompts by integrated plugins, such as Microsoft Entra, Microsoft Intune, or Microsoft Purview. The prompt bar is where you interact with the Copilot. You can ask anything about security. For example, if I want to get an overview of recent cyber threats, I can enter Summarize recent threat intelligence. Click Submit. Copilot generates the answer, and it provides some reference links. You can click the prompts icon inside the prompt bar for prompt suggestions. You can use prompt books, which are a collection of related prompts for specific security tasks. You can also leverage system capabilities, which are pre-built skills. Click See All System Capabilities. There are many skills provided by various security tools. This portal provides a standalone experience for accessing Microsoft Security Copilot. You can also use its embedded experience with various Microsoft security solutions like Microsoft Defender XDR or Microsoft Entra, which we will cover later in this course. Let's look at the general process flow of Microsoft Security Copilot. Microsoft Security Copilot uses Orchestrator to work with user interfaces, plugins, and AI. First, a user prompt submitted from the standalone portal or embedded panel is sent to Security Copilot's Orchestrator. Next, Copilot selects the right plugin to pre-process the prompt, so it can retrieve the specific context from the selected service, such as Microsoft security products, third-party tools, or custom services. Then the modified prompt is sent to the large language model, or LLM. Next, the AI model generates results after the responsible AI check. The AI response is sent to Copilot. Then Copilot chooses the plugin for post-processing. Finally, Security Copilot sends the response back to the user. Meanwhile, this whole process flow is governed by Microsoft's Security Trust Boundary. In other words, your data is your data. It always remains within your company's boundary. It is not used to train the foundation AI models. To work with Microsoft Security Copilot, you need to understand some common terminology, such as sessions. A session is like a conversation between you and the Copilot. Copilot remembers the context of a session and keeps session history. A session can contain multiple prompts and responses. A prompt is a question or statement a user submits to Copilot. Plugins. Plugins allow Copilot to integrate with various services and data. A specific service such as Microsoft Defender XDR provides a set of capabilities through its plugin. A capability is like a function or skill to perform a task. and Microsoft Security Copilot Orchestrator selects the plugins and the capabilities to respond to a user's prompt. Now let's have a quick demo of the Copilot process flow. Here's the Microsoft Security Copilot. In the prompt bar, enter a prompt. For example, find the user details for Henry Twill. Henry Twill is a user in my demo organization. Click Submit. We got a response from Security Copilot. To see how the Copilot processed this request, we can expand the process log. First, based on this prompt, Copilot chose the plugin Microsoft Entra. Then it looked up the user information and sent it to the large language model for processing. Finally, it prepared the response, ran safety checks, and composed the output message. Security Copilot keeps a history of my sessions. I can edit the session name at the top. For example, change it to Find User Details, and then click Save. Click My Sessions. I can view all my sessions. Microsoft Security Copilot is powered by generative AI. Prompting is how you interact with the Security Copilot. What is a prompt? Basically, it's an instruction you send to Copilot. Then based on your prompt, Copilot will generate a response. The effectiveness of AI-generated responses largely depends on the quality of your prompts. For example, the effectiveness of AI-generated. What is a prompt? Basically, it's an instruction you send to Copilot. Then based on your prompt, Copilot will generate a response. The effectiveness of AI-generated responses largely depends on the quality of your prompts. For example, let's compare two prompts. List incidents versus Can you list the incidents from Microsoft Defender XDR within the last 30 days? This is for my security status update with management. Please show the results in the table with name, severity, status, and owner. Which prompt do you think will help Security Copilot better understand your request? Did you select the second one? Then you are right. How can you create effective prompts? Actually, you just need to ask 4 basic questions. What, why, how, and where. Specifically, what refers to the goal we want to achieve with AI. For example, to list the incidents within the last 30 days. Why refers to the context of our request. For example, the reason for finding incidents is for my security status update with management. How refers to your expectations of the results. For example, show the results in a table with name and severity. And where refers to the source of services or data. For example, Microsoft Defender XDR. Now let's put these essential elements together. We will get an effective prompt. Here are some general tips for crafting your prompts. Be specific about what you want Copilot to do. For example, list the high-severity incidents owned by John instead of list incidents. Be iterative. You can submit follow-up prompts to further improve the results generated by Copilot. Be contextual. You can provide background information to help Copilot better understand your request. For example, this report is for non-technical managers. And to be positive, you want to ask a Copilot to do something rather than asking it not to do something. For example, list high and medium severity incidents instead of don't show low severity incidents. In addition, how do you call Microsoft Security Copilot in your prompts? You can simply call Copilot you rather than calling it AI or assistant. Microsoft Security Copilot is integrated with various Microsoft security solutions. For example, Microsoft Defender XDR for threat protection, Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Microsoft Entra for Identity and Access Management, Microsoft Intune for Endpoint Management and Security, Microsoft Purview for Data Governance, Security, and Compliance, Microsoft Sentinel for Security Information and Event Management, and Azure Security Services such as Azure Firewall and Azure Web Application Firewall. Microsoft Security Copilot provides two ways for you to access the capabilities provided by Microsoft Security Solutions. You can use the standalone Copilot portal, or you can use the embedded Copilot within many of Microsoft Security products. This is convenient because you don't need to leave the product page to access Copilot. In addition, you can find your conversation history with the embedded Copilot in the standalone portal, so you can manage your sessions in one central place. Now let's have a quick demo of Copilot integration with the various Microsoft security solutions. Here's the Microsoft Security Copilot portal. In the prompt bar, click the Sources icon. On the Manage Plugins page, I can find pre-installed Microsoft plugins. Expand the Microsoft plugins page. You can see the plugins for Microsoft products such as Azure Firewall, Azure Web Application Firewall, Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft Entra, Intune, Purview, Sentinel, and Threat Intelligence. To use a plugin, you need to enable it first. Click the Prompts icon in the prompt bar. Then click See All System Capabilities. You can see the capabilities provided by Microsoft security products through their plugins. For example, under Microsoft Defender XDR, there's a capability, List Incidents. Let's use this capability. In the Customer Request field, enter List the incidents within the last 30 days, show the results in a table format. Click Submit. Copilot chose the Microsoft Defender XDR plugin to retrieve the information. Here we use Microsoft Security Copilot's standalone experience. Next, let's look at Copilot's embedded experience in some Microsoft security solutions. Here's the incidents page on Microsoft Defender XDR. Select an incident. Copilot summarized this incident and generated a guided response. You can ask Copilot to analyze suspicious scripts. Here we see a suspicious PowerShell script. We can let Copilot analyze it. Copilot explained the script, so we can quickly understand its purpose. From here, we can also go back to the Copilot standalone portal, then continue our work there. We can also access Copilot in Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. We can use Copilot to summarize the latest threats, prioritize threats, and ask about threat actors and attack techniques. For example, we can ask Copilot to summarize the vulnerability with this CVE number. Copilot provided the description, impacted technologies, vulnerable components, recommendations, and references. Now let's look at Copilot in Microsoft Entra. In the identity protection, we can ask Copilot to summarize risky users. Select a user. Copilot provided a summary. Now let's look at Copilot in Microsoft Intune. We can explore a device with Copilot. Copilot can summarize this device, analyze an error code, or compare this device with another device. Let's click Compare this device with another device. Enter Device 2 name. Select Comparison Type. Click Submit. Copilot provided a comparison table to show the similarities and differences between the two devices. Click Show Policies assigned to this device. Select the policy type. Click Submit. Copilot listed the assigned policies. Now let's look at Copilot in Microsoft Purview. Let's choose the solution Communication Compliance. Click Policies. Let's select the policy No Insider Trading Policy. Select a detected message to review its content. You can ask the Copilot to summarize the content. Go back to Solutions. Choose the solution eDiscovery. Let's choose a case. Open a review set. Select a file to review its content. You can ask a Copilot to summarize the file and help with your reviews. Go back to Solutions. Choose the solution Data Loss Prevention. Click Alerts. Select an alert. Copilot summarized this alert for you. Go back to Solutions. Choose the solution Insider Risk Management. Click Users. You can see potential risky users. Select a user to review. Copilot summarized the user risk. You made it! Congratulations on completing this course. Now you have a comprehensive understanding of Microsoft Security Essentials. As a quick summary, we covered the fundamental concepts of security, identity, governance, risk, compliance, and privacy. The capabilities of Microsoft security solutions, including Microsoft Entra, Defender XDR, Defender for Cloud, Sentinel, Intune, Purview, Priva, and Azure Security Services, and the AI-powered protection provided by Microsoft Security Copilot. So what's next? I encourage you to take the certification exam for this course. I also recommend doing some hands-on exercises with Microsoft Security Solutions. Finally, let's stay connected. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I look forward to collaborating with you.